All right, everyone. Good morning and a happy Saturday. Should be a really interesting week ahead. We grab the economic calendar here. We will hear from JP and the Fed with an interest rate decision on Wednesday. And then we got the GDP and the jobless claims on Thursday. And then I believe Meta, Microsoft, and Tesla kicking off earnings on Wednesday. So buckle up, shall not be dull. And before we jump in here, a quick look at the rankings on the spreadsheet. All looking pretty good. A lot of good-looking scores here. S&P's a 98 out of 120, QQQ a 92, Google a perfect 120, Meta the perfect 120, Amazon a 116, Broadcom 114, Netflix, TSM, Microsoft, NVDA, all sitting pretty here. So yeah, plenty to work with. But if anything, just be mindful of the catalyst coming up. We got the Fed, we got big earnings. Couple things hanging above our head here next couple of weeks. And if you're looking at these bigger daily, 3-day, weekly squeeze setups, give them time to work. Also be willing to buy on a pullback. Alrighty? So we'll jump in here to a couple different setups. One we picked up last week was Bitcoin. And we've been trading Bitcoin through the futures. Doing it through the MBT. If we look at our 3-day squeeze here, mind you, a brand new squeeze, so maybe have to give that another couple of bars, but into a brand new squeeze, I think I'll poise for a breakout. 15 out of 15, bull trend, bull structure, bull momentum. Could make for a push eventually into 115, 117. From there, we drop down to our 2-day time frame, and another good-looking 2-day squeeze. We are getting the white arrow, target around, again, 117. From there, drop down to our daily squeeze. 13 points out of 15, bull trend, bull structure. They got to get that momentum. Looking down here at our MACD line, they're pretty close to a positive cross, but no cigar here just yet. Turn momentum, get the buy signal, get the white arrow. Could all shape up for a decent breakout. So for the futures contracts, we're trying to play for a move into, 115-ish would do the trick. Exit order a little bit under our 21 EMA. Stop under the 21, target around a $1.15. So there's your Bitcoin futures. From that, we'll move on to Meta. I have heard of her, but I have never met her. Again, earnings coming up on Wednesday, and as a rule of thumb, I'm not a big fan of holding too many trades into earnings. You can have good-looking signals, you can have the squeezes, all the pretty colors. Going into that binary event, a little bit of that can get thrown out the window. Putting earnings aside, I think one of the better-looking setups in the market right now. White arrow on our daily squeeze. White arrow printing on the 2-day squeeze. And if you're new to the channel here, white arrow means we got a squeeze and a perfect score of 15. In my book, that makes for an A+ setup. So we got that on the daily, we got that on the 2-day. And then we got the big dog here on the weekly. Brand new weekly squeeze. They tend to need a good 3, 4, maybe 5 bars of, going through that compression phase. But nonetheless, white arrow, 15 out of 15. Again, putting the earnings catalyst aside, chart for chart here, I think it all makes for a move eventually into 690, 700. So now the key with earnings is anything other than a big gap down, anything other than a move that would kill the structure of that weekly 2-day daily squeeze. I think eventually they're going for a path towards that bigger target. We bought the 700, 710 call debit spread back on, I want to say Wednesday of this week here. Again, I don't want to hold too many things to earnings, but this one might be the exception to the rule here. So we're jumping in, grabbing that call debit spread on that candle. Now, if they want to make my life really easy, then before earnings, we'll get a $40, $50 gap up on Monday, and then we'll take our profit. I think a little bit more likely. Got to hold through earnings. That's just a position sizing thing. if I put half of my account into a Meta trade, hold it through earnings, and Meta just totally craps the bed here, yeah, that'll all be pretty painful. Might be crying in the corner if I put 1% of my account into a Meta trade, and then Meta gaps down to $10 per share. Not too much bloodshed. So that one I like for a push. Assuming earnings doesn't ruin all the fun here. From Meta, we'll move on to the one they call Google. Google earnings coming up, I believe, on February 3rd. Really solid daily squeeze. Now the question here is, can they break it out above that big 200 level? Get a move going into 205, 207-ish before the earnings announcement. And unlike most things on my watch list, we don't have a weekly squeeze. We don't have a 3-day or a 2-day squeeze. Meaning the push I would call for here would be a push from that daily 21 into that 3 ATR target. 205, 206, 207, should be good enough here off that daily squeeze. If you had a bigger, weekly squeeze behind it, 3-day squeeze behind it, you maybe call for more of a, maybe a bit more of an upside move. Being that we only have that daily, could be good for a breakout, a little push into 205, 207. Question, again, is can they do that before earnings? That one I'm liking a lot. No open trade here in the room just yet, but maybe picking up some Google here this coming week. From Google, we can jump over to the SMH. And we jumped in about a week ago, and we bought the 300 calls for April expiration. All right, now I'm giving that trade a good 80, 85 days till expiration, meaning, I would love a quick breakout and a quick push into 300. I'm also thinking it might take a little time here. So the core thing I'm trying to anchor to is going to be this weekly chart. And if you run it through the indicator, for the most part, it all leans pretty bullish. 11 points out of 15. Trend is bullish. Structure is bullish. Go look at the previous weekly squeeze from back here. And from September when that weekly squeeze starts until November when that weekly squeeze fires, you have good trend, you have good structure. The only thing you're lacking is momentum. So looking down here at our MACD line on the squeeze, breaks negative, right? And they don't break structure, they don't fire the squeeze short. It does a good job of holding its ground there, but you're not getting that big breakout, that bigger directional move, till momentum says, all right, let's go for it. From here, momentum can once again say, all right, let's go for it, when they get that positive cross back above zero. That could take another 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 weeks. So again, I think it's definitely a setup with, I think, a lot of potential. But at the same time, if you come in here and you're buying calls that expire in 5 or 10 days, you might not catch that bigger picture move. So the April calls, the March calls, I think you can even look at June or July. Anywhere around that 290, 300, 310 could be a good money-making proposition. So yeah, we've got the 300 calls for April, and if they were to pull things back into 255-ish, 250, would love to come in and buy some more. But all right, we got the weekly chart looking for a momentum turn. The only missing ingredient. And then for our 3-day squeeze here, almost perfect. They do get that MACD shift. Pretty good structure. A little bit more work, I think, poised for a push into 280. The beauty of that is if they can take that 3-day squeeze, get a move going towards 280, they're only going to wake up that weekly squeeze. So I love that for March, April, May expiration swing trade. Again, give that thing plenty of time. And if things pull back into 255-ish, 250, I think you got to look to buy more. Now, being that I'm long the SMH here, of course I'm watching the TSMs, Broadcoms, and the NVIDIAs of the world. And frankly, NVIDIA's been a little tricky as of late. I think you want to give that plenty of time to keep on building out this weekly squeeze. And again, granted, NVIDIA's been really choppy. Let me grab the weekly. All right, it's been really choppy, but if you look at the indicator, 13 points out of 15, bull trend, bull structure. Only thing missing for a big push, like back here and like back here, would be that momentum turn. Getting that shift could take another 2, 3, 4 weeks. Right? So be patient, and I think if they can keep it above 130-ish, not immediately, but eventually down the road, could all make for a push into, I would play for a move into 170 off of that weekly 3-day, 2-day daily squeeze setup. But in the short term, very choppy. I would say into this week, if they can't keep it above 140, the back and forth ugliness probably continues for a little bit longer. Broadcom, on the other hand, a little bit cleaner than NVIDIA, and very solid daily squeeze. White arrow, perfect 15, could be shaping up for a breakout, and then TSM with a handful of squeezes, many of which have fired. They do go into the weekend here, still printing that weekly squeeze. Give it time, buy more on the pullback. If they fire that, you would look for a move into 240-ish. All right, so we got the NVIDIAs, the SMHs, the Googles, and Metas of the world. Showed you Bitcoin, and one more for you, which, like Meta, does have earnings coming up here this week, but would be Microsoft. And I can't stress enough, I'm not saying jump in and buy these before earnings, but looking at the weekly chart here for Microsoft, it does strike me a little bit like NVIDIA. You have bull trend. We have really good structure. The indicator is trying to tell us we're maybe a MACD shift away from a push, a breakout, and eventually a move into 480, 490, maybe 500. Now the question is, after earnings, are they gapping up and trying to get that move going? Are they gapping down? Is earnings a total non-event? Be patient this week. One thing I do like about the current market, if the Fed and earnings all goes well, a lot of these bigger, big tech names, big semiconductors, they do have these weekly 3-day, 2-day squeezes. They might all fire short after earnings. They might all fire long after earnings. If things are a little bit more subdued, could offer a good chance to jump in and buy a handful. And the final chart for today, in my opinion, the most important chart, especially for the folks in my room, the chart here of the B10 Index. So we're taking these 10 names over here, putting them into a weighted index, and the major signal that we're going to watch here for now has got to be that 3-day squeeze. And remember, the last time we had a 3-day squeeze on the Big Ten, printing the white arrow here, made for a big breakout, made for a good push, made for a really good month of December. White arrow squeeze back here, another white arrow squeeze back here. Now we got a brand new one. So with patience, get through earnings. That points towards collectively, good handful of these 10 names here do want to go for a breakout. After earnings, we fall apart here, back under 100. We're losing the buy signals. It'll be a different discussion. But for now, guys, the bulls have made good progress. Fed coming up, earnings coming up. If all goes well, not immediately, but bigger picture, looking for a path higher from these big, beautiful multi-squeeze setups. Till things change, that'll be the game plan. Get through the Fed, get through earnings, be mindful of your risk, be mindful of position sizing, and we will keep on keeping on. So have a great weekend. As always, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you on Monday. Adios.